Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday to you. Josh's Severe Weather. Thank you for joining me here this weekend. I hope everybody's doing as well as they can, getting ready for Thanksgiving here in the States. We are finally wrapping things up here for the extremely active hurricane season in the Atlantic Ocean, but we are continuing to deal with all kinds of nasty weather in Central America. Destructive tropical storm Sara is making landfall in Belize this morning and will dissipate as it tracks through the Yucatan here by tomorrow morning. But its remains are going to get tangled up with a front, bringing some heavier moisture and maybe increasing our severe weather threat across portions of the central and eastern Gulf Coast states next week. But fortunately, those of you who may have been praying for this to fall apart before getting to Florida, well, your prayers have been answered. So we will take that while we can. So we're going to talk about the tropics. We're going to talk about what's going on over in the Philippines as well. And we're going to talk about the weather this upcoming week across the United States and some big changes coming. So here's a look at Sara coming to an end here in the Hurricane Center. I don't think we're going to see anything major after this other than maybe a quick rogue storm. But as far as U.S. impacts, and likely island impacts, I think this is going to be it. We've seen reports from Honduras of over 40 inches of rain, and this is just completely mind-boggling. Mitch, back in 1998, was an extremely destructive system for Honduras that produced about 36 to 37 inches of rain. So obviously, it's a very difficult situation to see that ongoing. Although the system never really cranked up to its potential because of that land interaction, it will still go down in history as one of Honduras's worst. And there's a personal connection there. My wife has done mission work in Honduras multiple times, and Guatemala as well. She's seen firsthand some of the poverty over there. So obviously our thoughts and prayers are with those folks. But moving on, after this system crosses the Yucatan, what's left of it is going to get picked up by a front in the Gulf of Mexico. Models show that just kind of hugging the northeast coast, and then the moisture heads into Florida Wednesday, and then we're pretty much finished after that. So good news on that front. Here's a look at our infrared satellite. The circulation center of Sara basically hugged the coast, so it never got a chance to really strengthen much. And that is the reason why I doubt the system's now going to survive its trek across northeast Guatemala and across the Yucatan. There will be some moisture left over, but an actual center of circulation is unlikely to stick around. Now, a couple days ago, I thought maybe there was going to be a better chance if the storm had had a chance to develop further, but that has not happened. So we've lost that opportunity. But regardless, there's a lot of rain moving in. Here's the radar from Belize, and you can see it's not a very organized system. We just have bands of heavy rain, but these bands over here, excuse me, in northwestern Honduras just continue to dump incredible amounts of rain. There's actually a feed coming in off the Pacific. If we go back one, you can kind of see that feed here over El Salvador, which is this nation right here. And with that southeasterly, southerly flow here, we continue to have what's called upslope moisture, and that's increased and enhanced rainfall rates. So a very nasty situation here that's going to continue today and maybe into the first part of tomorrow. But fortunately, the storm's future is looking pretty bleak. And the National Hurricane Center has this weakening to tropical depression this afternoon and a remnant low as it moves into Mexico late tonight and first thing on Monday. And that should be that. The lady should sing, as Bob Breck in New Orleans says. So here is the track here, 40-mile-per-hour storm. That's it. It was a little stronger, closer to 50 as it approached the Bay Islands, but just never really had the opportunity to consolidate, just a broad, messy system. And you can see we still do have tropical storm warnings as a precaution here for the Bay Islands, for the western half of the Honduras coast, for the Guatemala coast, for the entire coast of Belize, and just up a little bit from Chetumal into the southern portion of Quintana Roo. But we are not going to have watches or warnings posted for the Gulf side, for the Bay of Campeche side. You can see, though, the discussion here from the National Hurricane Center earlier. The government is indicating that around 40 inches of rain has fallen in portions of Honduras, would be a record rainfall. So we are continuing to see the effects of slow-moving systems over very warm water, record warm water this season. And we don't need to have 10 Category 5s for there to be destruction. I think those of you in Florida certainly understand that. We have these slower-moving systems that just dump incredible amounts of rain, and so a lot of places have been on the hit list this year. Honduras, parts of Louisiana, Texas, certainly in the Caribbean, Jamaica, those of you in the St. Vincent Grenadines, and obviously portions of Florida and the southeastern United States. Just a very destructive season, although maybe not as bad as it could have been had we had a more active August and early September. So here's what's left from the ensembles on the European, showing that our possibility of something surviving in the Western Gulf drops off after we get beyond Monday night and Tuesday. You can see that here Wednesday, just a very slim chance of something that could produce tropical depression wind. This would be Wednesday and Wednesday night. And then by Thursday, whatever's there is pretty much out of the picture. So the hurricane models are guessing at where whatever's left here is going to be. And this is really just going to be a non-tropical system. In fact, it may go away in this area completely, and then we may have a new low form somewhere in here. And that moisture is going to advance into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. We'll see some heavier amounts of rain here in the next few days. But this is not a massive storm for Florida, not certainly what I was concerned about here a few days ago. So the moisture left over, that low is going to kind of move in this direction. And really, some of these tropical models that go down here, this is just part of our cold front that's moving through Florida later this week. And you'll definitely notice that. So we're going to talk about that in this video as well. Intensity forecast, again, tropical models, they struggle with how these things dissipate, but we don't really have a tropical storm threat after we get past this morning. We've got a depression down in here, and then whatever low tries to spin up is going to remain fairly weak. This is junk right here, so ignore that. Just unlikely to really do much more. The track of the remains, if we want to call it that, you can see we lose that over the northern and eastern Gulf of Mexico, but in general, this goes around high pressure to the east of our system. Same with the Canadian. If you can see, there's no support to have anything beyond this area. Whatever lingering moistures here is going to clip Louisiana and then go across northern Florida and possibly southern Georgia as well. And the time frame for that's going to be late Tuesday night and during the day on Wednesday. Here's the GFS. I put precipitable water on here. This is moisture, a very dry air mass across the southeastern United States, very moist across the northwest Caribbean. And you can see the dividing line here between this frontal boundary here, where it's extremely dry across Florida and extremely moist over portions of the Yucatan and Central America. And as we move this into motion here, you can see that moisture does get drawn out of the Caribbean across the Central Gulf, but we've got a powerful front here. You can see the front very clearly in this area here. So we're going to have a feed of moisture, but we're not really going to have much of a low pressure system. You can see there's just a little bit of a bend here Monday afternoon or evening. This will be out 6 o'clock Central Monday evening. So that moisture does get directed primarily into Alabama and western Florida here during the day Tuesday. You can see a weak area of low pressure does form on that front. It's actually kind of moving southeastward to south of Tampa Bay Tuesday night. And then look how quickly that moves through. That's just really not much to be concerned with. So that's the good news here. Behind this front here, you can see some moisture left over in the northwest Caribbean, but very dry, much cooler, windier weather across the southeastern states here by the time we get into Thursday and Friday of next week. The GFS does indicate there's going to be a little bit more moisture to watch in the southwestern Caribbean, and maybe something weak tries to spin up. The model before had something, but there's just not a lot of support for anything. I'm going to show you in a minute here. So one run of the GFS shows it, but this is the very end of November. So the weekend after Thanksgiving, basically. It does show something very weak heading towards Nicaragua and maybe towards the Yucatan. So if you're traveling to the Yucatan, Belize, anywhere in this area, maybe you're taking a vacation here at the end of the season, don't get super worried about one model run. Just keep an eye on things down the road here. I don't think things are going to favor anything. This won't be a U.S. system for sure. It's got no chance. I mean, if Raphael couldn't do it and Sarah couldn't do it, I don't see why this one would do it. But if we do get another name, the name is Tony. Here are the ensembles for the week of Thanksgiving. Just showing you all here, okay, we've got a little bit of puny support for something tropical forming, but just this is so far out in the future. We're talking 2 weeks from today. There's a little bit of support for something weak down in here. Yes, there's one that tries to pull it towards Jamaica, but it's not a lot of support. It's not something that I'm forecasting at this point. So, and the reason why, if we look at the Madden-Julian oscillation, we're going to get out of the favorable phases here. So right now, we are in phases 1 and 2, heading towards phase 3 as we head into next week. And then coming around over here, these phases are just not good for tropical development on the Atlantic side. They indicate more hostile wind shear. These phases indicate more action as we move over towards the Indian Ocean and eventually towards the Western Pacific. But we're getting to relative end here of tropic season. By the way, phases for enhanced winter weather in the United States, colder air to come down, more winter storms are showing up here in the longer range. Once we get past the middle of December, maybe around Christmas time, we might be dealing with more winter weather here attacking us in the central and eastern United States. You can see here, phase 6, we start heading in that direction around the 15th of December. Okay, that's almost a month away, but it's coming. But right around Christmas time, we may be in a spot where we have more winter weather to track. So it's not that far away, folks. And you can see the PNA. This is an index that kind of indicates where the mild air is entering the Pacific and where it's in the southeast. It's negative, which doesn't indicate winter weather across the southeast. But as it goes positive, we have maybe some more action to keep an eye on. And this is 14th of December. And you can see we're starting to see a trend towards a more positive PNA. So just hinting at something at this point. We're not forecasting an assault of winter weather, but it's something we have to keep an eye on. I'll backtrack again to Sara here. This is the HAVS model. You can see how moist it is. Yes, there's a very weak circulation center that may try to make it to the Bay of Campeche, but you can see it's just falling apart. And then whatever's left here has a front moving into its west. So that shear, that cooler water, and that drier air are all going to impact whatever's left of this system here. You can see, yeah, there's a bit of a low pressure system, but it's not really trackable on here. So I know the models are picking up on something, but Wednesday morning, that front is moving into central Florida. And then you could see bone dry and much cooler by Wednesday evening. So in Florida, we're escaping a potential hazard here, which is great. Here's a look at the just the wind field, and you can see it's bouncing around here. So the HAVS model, which is usually one of our better tropical models, has a very weak area of low pressure latching onto a front, but it continues to look better and better with time. Here is the rain forecast. Lots of rain across Belize and the Yucatan this afternoon. That will move inland, so things will quiet down finally tonight across Belize, across Honduras, and across Guatemala, where we need it to quiet down. And the rainfall amounts tomorrow are going to be a lot less across the Yucatan. We'll have bands of showers coming into places like Cancun. We have a very weak circulation coming off the Bay of Campeche, but you can see over time here, this is just going to be moisture scattered across the Central Gulf, eventually heads up into the Florida Panhandle here Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night. There may be some heavy rain, but I'm not expecting this to be a big-time severe weather outbreak. Taking a look at Wednesday across the Florida Peninsula, we do want to keep a little bit of an eye on these bands as they come through, but at this point, I think our instability is a little bit limited. This is not going to be a repeat of Milton with tornadoes all across the peninsula. This is not a very destructive system. It's just a front at this point with maybe some heavy rain. So thank goodness for that, all right? Here's a look at rainfall totals over the upcoming week. We're going to get a lot back in the plains, but take a look at the Central Gulf. Amounts here may exceed 4 inches in places like Mobile and Boothville and St. Bernard Parish here in Louisiana. We may see amounts beyond 2 inches across the rest of southern Alabama, western Florida. The time frame for this rain is going to be tomorrow night and primarily on Tuesday and Tuesday evening, and then spreading into southern Georgia, into northern Florida here late Tuesday night into Wednesday. And then amounts are going to come down the farther east and the farther south you get. Not much for the Carolinas here out of this system, more off to the north. So we have a disconnect there. We'll come back to that in a minute here. 2 storms in the Pacific and Indian Ocean. This is Super Typhoon Manny. Pepito is what the Filipinos have called it. And it's very quickly crossing the island and weakening. I don't think it's 150 miles per hour anymore. It actually weakened right before it hit here about 6 hours or so ago, but a very destructive system here for the Philippines. That will weaken significantly as it hits drier air to the west of the Philippines. And we are beginning to see things going. The summer season coming up on us here in the southern hemisphere. Intense tropical cyclone Becky. That is going to head over towards Reunion here and Mauritius, these islands here in the southern Indian Ocean. I don't think it's going to survive to Madagascar, but we'll ask Kowalski what he thinks. So here's a look here at Pepito, Manny here. You can see a bit of an eye wall replacement at the very end. Interaction with land here has weakened the system, but a very destructive one. The Philippines just really haven't caught a break, but this may be the last big one. You can see on the water vapor, very good outflow, very healthy cyclone, but it is weakening now as it crosses land and will be much weaker heading towards the southern portion of China and Vietnam, whatever's left there. And here's a look at our other system here, Becky. I think that's how you say it. I could be wrong. Some dry air in there, so it's got a massive annular eye. It's heading southwestward. The remains may get very close to Reunion here and eventually towards Madagascar, but it's going to weaken significantly. Here's a look at the rest of North America and the Atlantic. And you can see here, big front with low pressure here that's going to send moisture up into Atlantic Canada. Newfoundland's already beginning to see that. We're going to see the tail end of that producing some heavy rain here this morning over portions of the West Indies here, mainly the Leeward Islands. Here's our system, Sara here, almost attached to that front. There's another disturbance here that has a very slim chance of forming as it heads towards the Mexican Riviera, but I'm not super impressed with that. The wind shear here is pretty strong in this direction. And then here's our next storm system circulating near the Baja, and that is going to lead to active weather in the southwest over the next couple of days, in Texas as well. We also have another big storm aimed at the northwest, and that will bring an atmospheric river into Oregon and Northern California here next week. Lots of rain coming from that. You can see on the water vapor image, here is our next system moving through Baja California. Strong southwesterlies, and these are going to increase as we get into tonight and tomorrow. We're going to have to keep an eye on the wind flow here as there will be a big feed of moisture, but also some wind shear to talk about here. You can see also our next system getting ready to attack the northwestern United States. And we're going to be in for a lot more wild weather here with some disruptions coming up here this upcoming week. You can see we have winter storm warnings for the Cascades and winter storm watches for the Northwest here. We have a flood watch for portions of northwest Texas and central and northern Oklahoma, and quiet weather in the east for now, but that will change here in a few days. We do have a slight risk of severe weather across West Texas and southwest Oklahoma later today into tonight, and there will be an increasing chance for some tornadoes. I don't think this is a big outbreak, but some tornadoes across this area late this afternoon into tonight. A broader area of wind damage is possible from any of these heavier showers and storms, but no hail expected, at least no major hail. Tomorrow, this is going to be a difficult forecast because we have strong wind shear, but not a lot of instability or storm fuel to get this going. But it's going to be getting more moist. We are going to see that slight risk through North Texas, the Metroplex close to Oklahoma City, marginal risk all the way down to places like San Antonio and Houston, and across the majority of Louisiana, Arkansas, and even the Ozarks region in southeastern Kansas. It's marginal. I don't think we're talking a major outbreak, but there will be the risk for a few tornadoes. It's a conditional risk, but one I'm going to talk about here for the day tomorrow. And you can see that, and the wind risk is even bigger across this area, and there is a threat for some hail as well along the I-35 corridor, basically from New Braunfels all the way up to Lawrence, Kansas. On Tuesday, remember, we've got the remains here of Sara getting close. We've got a front moving in. We've got a jet stream that's pretty intense. So as a result here, we could have some heavy rain, but we could also have a bit of severe weather, mainly east of Baton Rouge, New Orleans area, Houma, Thibodaux, all the way up to Hattiesburg, Meridian, and over into southwestern Alabama, and eventually as far east as places like maybe not quite Panama City, but Destin, Fort Walton Beach here at night, Tuesday night. And there may be a few tornadoes within this region as well. So that's what we're looking at. Let me get this off the screen for you. Wind flow aloft here is picking up. Very strong flow here. We're going to see winds at 500 millibars that exceed 90 miles per hour as our trough and upper level low move through this region. This is tomorrow. You can see the wind field increases, and it's pretty significant here, 130 mile per hour at 500 millibars. So a lot of wind energy with this system, but we don't have a ton of instability, and I'll show that to you here in just a second. This is CAPE, Convective Available Potential Energy, and this is not really a May type setup where these big storms come down through here, or maybe I should say April or May. But there's some instability we need to watch for here over the next couple of days. It's just not a strong amount at this point. So here's what our radar may look like here over the next couple of days. We'll see some scattered showers and storms this afternoon in East Texas, and then tonight we're going to have more organized severe weather potential in two areas. This is going to be around 7 to 8 o'clock tonight, so you can kind of see how things evolve here. West Texas in particular, we do need to watch out for a few tornadoes, but keep an eye on this action as well towards the Red River region. Overnight tonight, tomorrow morning is going to be our best shot at severe weather. So this is coming while many of us will be sleeping here north and west of Dallas, west of OKC. Just something to keep tabs on here And then tomorrow morning, as this line moves through, it's not looking super impressive, but we have to keep an eye on it. With that wind shear, you obviously have to keep an eye on anything down here this time of the year. But keep an eye on things in Louisiana tomorrow night. I do think we're going to see potentially some pretty nasty weather down here, as you can see. Let me zoom this in for everybody to see this line that comes through here. This is 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Natchitoches, Louisiana, all the way up to Ruston. And then we also have cells firing ahead of this line around Baton Rouge, around Morgan City, Houma, New Orleans, Slidell, Mandeville, all the way over to Gulfport here during the overnight hours tomorrow night. So there may be a few scattered tornadoes in here, maybe some severe wind, and certainly some heavy rain potential out of this system. Here's the tornado parameters. They're not super low, but they're low enough to not be super concerned, just enough where there is a potential here. And then as we get into Monday, those chances come down in the morning and then start to climb again towards evening. And you can see where we're a little bit more concerned down in here. It's not a great chance, but it's a chance nonetheless. And we may see that chance as well Tuesday into the panhandle of Florida. Here's a look at what's to come here in the next week or two. I know some of you are maybe traveling for the holidays coming up. And you can see here's our big storm in the southwest here tonight and tomorrow. Here's our next one moving into the northwest early next week. This one is going to send mild air all the way up into Minnesota and even into northwest Ontario, but it will follow with some strong wind and some much cooler temperatures as it spins out. Here you can see the moisture heading into Florida tomorrow night or Tuesday night into Wednesday. Lighter rain up through the Carolinas and East Tennessee. This won't be a big rainmaker, but the northern branch feature is going to spin up some more wind and more cold air around the Great Lakes region, and we will see some winter weather out of this. There is even a potential for some more significant rain across coastal New England and snow across the higher elevations north and west of the coast on Thursday. At the same time, take a look at California and Oregon. We're going to get blasted with some incredibly heavy rain and heavy mountain snow here towards the middle portion of next week. Big time problems expected there. And we haven't had much rain lately, so this is going to certainly shock some folks. But our system in the east continues to spin out into next weekend. We're going to have, I'll talk about snow in a minute, but we're going to definitely have some snow to talk about. And then our system in the west eventually comes out onto the plains. And next weekend, we have the potential for a snowstorm. Now, how it plays out right now is still quite uncertain, but you can see the GFS is definitely getting us into the mood for the holidays here across Iowa and northern parts of Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and back across the Dakotas, of course. This will be some much colder air spilling down. So we need to be preparing for that here, but we don't know yet exactly how that plays out. For the week of Thanksgiving, much cooler across the eastern U.S., warming back up across the plains. So we'll see a lot of that snow melting, and pretty quiet across the southern United States. Seasonable cool weather with some milder temperatures in time for Thanksgiving. So that's what we're looking at there. Here's the European, or no, I'll come back to the European. Sorry about that. Rain across northern California. Look at this here. We're mainly concerned about Wednesday and Thursday, but amounts through the end of next week could get as high as 10 to maybe 16 inches in the far northwestern portion of the state. 8 inches around Fort Bragg. No, not Fort Liberty, North Carolina. Fort Bragg, California. 9 inches around Redding. Even the Bay Area is going to see over an inch of rain. Sacramento is going to see some rain. So this is going to cause some flooding problems here in Northern California, as well as in portions of Oregon, which I'll show you here in just a second. We could see up to 5 inches here where the number one ranked Ducks are in Eugene. We will see potentially 16 inches here inland in southwest Oregon. Places like Bandon could pick up close to a foot of rain. And so this is going to be a very significant event coming for the Northwest. I know I don't talk much about you, but this is now the time to talk about you here, unfortunately. So here's another look at the European model. So I showed you the GFS. Here's the European. And we don't see any major differences here. It's very clearly a nasty storm, but the European is a little bit wetter across New England on Thursday and across New York City and those areas. So the rain will be welcome. Wednesday night across the Northeast, Thursday morning across New England. And then here comes the cold wrapping in behind it. Looking ahead to Thanksgiving, another shot of cold coming down here, but this model does not show the big snowstorm over portions of Iowa. It does show some snow, but it's got a much different track. So this is going to be something we're going to have to just keep an eye on for you all here. You'll see how temperatures are going to drop off here over time. It's going to be warm today and especially tomorrow and even into Tuesday. Look at that. We're going to be pushing 60 in Chicago on Tuesday. 70 in Indianapolis, and maybe close to 80 in places like Jackson, Mississippi. But all good things come to an end. Take a look at this cold that's coming in behind it. Much chillier here Thursday. And Thursday afternoon, we may not get out of the low to mid 30s in the mountains of North Carolina. So we're going from the 50s and 60s here down into the low to mid 30s on Thursday. So much colder weather shaping up here. And you can see there's more cold coming next week across the north central states. Winds are going to be a challenge with this system here. Very windy in the southwest here tonight and tomorrow. Gusts to 60 miles per hour around Oklahoma City. Gusts to 50 in parts of Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. And then that wind is going to make it eastward into the mountains here as we get into Thursday. And I'm going to zoom in on that just to show you all in just a minute. But you can see here, snow across the eastern United States. We'll see a little bit of snow into central Indiana, into southern Ohio, eastern Kentucky here. The time frame on that snow is going to be on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And then we see the snow piling up across the Appalachians here. And I'm going to zoom in on that to show you all here a little bit more closely. But this is total snow. It may not all stick, but take a look at this. Areas that were hit by Hurricane Helene will see snow on Thursday. And we may see extreme amounts here across the mountains of West Virginia on Friday. So the ski areas are going to see over a foot, maybe as much as 20 inches of snow. Even Western Maryland and the Laurel Highlands here will see upwards of close to a foot. But looking down here across North Carolina, we have the potential in the higher elevations here to see beyond 6 inches of snow falling. With the majority of that coming here on Thursday night, Friday, and Friday night, it should quiet down for next weekend. The other challenge here, for those of you hit by Helene, is the wind. We're going to see winds picking up as we get into the middle of next week. Wind gusts here Wednesday night ahead of our storm as high, let me take that back one here, as high as 44 miles per hour in Asheville, but Mount Mitchell, 60 to 70 miles per hour. The Grandfather area, 63 miles per hour. And right up the Blue Ridge here, we're looking at 60 mile per hour wind gusts, which is going to cause problems. Even east of the mountains, we'll have some gusty winds here as this front moves through the region. Behind it, still windy on Thursday, still 40 to 50 mile per hour winds in the higher ground here. Even into Friday and Friday night, it remains windy. So our first big wind event following Helene and our first significant snow coming here in the wake of our storm, unfortunately for us here. So I'll keep you all posted on that. I got tabs on everything. You all see I've got 40 tabs open here. My goal is to help everybody out here, just get you ready for what's coming. But I believe tomorrow we'll start talking more about winter weather and severe weather, and we're going to push the tropics to the back of this as we fortunately are going to see that winding down here in the coming days. So hope you all have a safe Sunday. God bless you. I give all the honor and glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. God is good. We all go through trials. We all go through difficult times. But God is still the same, and he fights those battles for us. Paul tells the church of Philippians 4:13, KJV, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. And he also tells the church of Corinth, 2 Corinthians 12:9 through 10, and he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And I think a lot of people, when they read this, and it says you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, all things is a spiritual thing. It's not a blank check that you're going to be personally successful, but in Christ, you will have the hope that the Lord has already overcome those challenges that you're running into every day. It gives you the hope that you can be confident that God will help you endure all the storms in your life. And that is why I follow Christ, because before I followed Christ, I had no hope in my future. I didn't know eternally what was going to happen. My hope was in, am I going to get paid this week? Are my friends going to take care of me? Am I going to meet the girl of my dreams? I did meet her, by the way, which is awesome. And that's part of the reason I became a Christian, just getting around her and her Christian friends. But being happy with the fact that I am made stronger because Christ is made perfect and has already overcome the challenges of the world. The enemy doesn't want us to feel that. The enemy wants us to feel weak. The enemy wants us to kick us while we're down, but God is here to lift you up. And that is the good news I wanted to share with you today. The Apostle Paul went through a lot worse than I think any of us will ever go through, but he continued to see the strength in God and included those who are followers in his encouragement, despite all of the challenges he went through. And that, my folks, that, my friends, learn to talk, is an amazing thing. And I just wanted to share that good news with you today. I hope it encourages you. And I'll be back tomorrow afternoon with an update on next week's weather and anything left over in the tropics. We'll talk about that as well. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you soon. Take care.